Hello, and welcome to Amazon reInvent. I'm Rick Vanover.
And I'm Anthony Spiteri.
We're going to do a quick recap here of the event here. This is a great event that we've enjoyed. Veeam and AWS have brought a diamond sponsorship. This is our first time at that level. And Anthony, you came last year.
Yeah.
How was this different?
Well, last year we had a really small stage. We had the booth was in the back corner. You can see here we're more prominent here. Lots of traffic. And apparently, we haven't been here all the time, but the booth has been mad with traffic. So it's really good to see.
Yeah, it has been an outstanding event from our perspective as a partner, and really as we've incorporated AWS into the Veeam brand and some great technical details. We'll get to some of that here in a bit, but I look at this event, it's an outstanding amount of innovation coming from Amazon. I think I counted 14 press releases about new services, customer stories, and all that. I also noticed that they had 8 new storage services, just for storage.
Yeah.
Wow. And then 5 new and enhanced database services. It was a really rich amount of innovation. In the keynotes, it was hard to keep up on what was coming from Amazon, but they all had their interesting story told pretty well. And which one really stuck out to you?
Well, I think, it's funny you say storage. This is a cloud company, but they're focused heavily on storage yesterday, and there was a few comments, but I guess the one that really stuck out was the Outpost. This concept of taking what is effectively the AWS stack and shifting it out to an on-premises location so that, customers can run a hybrid scenario with Amazon as if it was locally. So getting all the goodness of the automation, the cloud as it is. But I think the really interesting thing is they announced it with VMware. Okay, so Pat Gelsinger got on stage, joint announcement, and I think initially everyone was a bit confused. Why is Pat up there? What's happening? Does this mean that VMware have given up to a certain extent on the space? They're letting Amazon in? But what's happening is actually that the VMware cloud in AWS is being taken to this Outpost. Okay, so interestingly enough, there's a great blog post out there by William Lamb that goes through and explains exactly what it's about. So, for me, it's just a shift in terms of, I think if you think about a couple of years ago, people were saying it's all cloud. All public cloud, right? So, this is the future. But now what's happened, the reality is that's not going to happen. We've talked about edge computing. Edge computing has turned into this Outpost. So now the next sort of 5 years is all about moving and getting the right workload in the right location. And interestingly, from our perspective as well, I think that opens up great possibilities because now we can use our AWS acquisition to back up into on-premises natively, but also if they're running VMware, so VMware Cloud as well, and in a software-defined data center, we can back that up traditionally as well. So I think it's a great announcement for us.
Agreed. I think it is a really powerful motion, and one thing I've always been saying is that the cloud is a model, not so much a location.
Not a destination.
Not a destination. It's a model, and so that model is being brought wherever you want it to be. And when you think about how Veeam operates with the full technology stack, I'm sure you're going to see good options over time with us wherever you take your cloud. One thing that caught my eye was one of the press releases about a major airline, an international airline, who went all in with AWS, and I thought that was a really interesting story because there's one thing that will really get headlines, and that's an airline with an outage, right?
Oh yeah.
And sometimes you have obsolete applications or maybe your own data center problems and stuff that can get in the way. I thought that was kind of a real progressive move by that airline, and I think you're going to see more of these all-in types of motions.
Yeah, and the all-in, it's interesting to define what all-in means. I mean, all-in from the point of view of the application, right? So it's obvious that through the Outpost announcement, all-in has changed. Okay, so all-in means the way that you said destination, the way that you get your apps out there, the way that you're actually going to serve your applications. I mean, I've been in hosting a long time. That's changing. The concept of having a server in the back has changed because really that data is dynamic. The sprawl of the data, the growth of the data, where it lives, how people access it, that's changed fundamentally. So when you see an airline going all in, it's about that application and where it lives. But it's interesting. It's a bit scary in a way, when that happens. I mean, from our perspective, I get a little bit, a little bit apprehensive about it. But I think, there's obviously we've reached a stage where these people are confident to put mission critical applications in that sort of scenario. So that's a good testament to what AWS has achieved and pushed, over the last 10 to 15 years.
Well put. And I think that when you look at some of the scary parts of all these changes, I think one of the duties we have at Veeam is to really educate customers and prospects and partners on what the backup capabilities are in this new cloud era. And you and David gave a session yesterday.
Had a session.
Maybe give a quick recap of what that was about.
Yeah, so the session was really about our upcoming Update 4 release and what we're doing around AWS technologies, what we're leveraging. AWS are an enabler of technologies. For us as a vendor writing technologies around that, we've got a couple of features coming in Update 4, which is due to GA early next year. We've got the clouds here, which is basically allowing our customers to have a more longer-term repository for their data in object storage, and obviously, we'd want them to consume Amazon S3 primarily in that case, because obviously where we're at, there are other options there as well. And then we've got cloud mobility. So really important, we've talked about the fact you've got a workload. That workload being a VM or an application, being able to take that and make it mobile. Have it from the Veeam Backup Replication console, right-click, restore to EC2. If it was a VMware machine initially, a Hyper-V machine, wherever it came from, as long as that's in that BBK, as long as we can see it in the console, you're going to be able to restore it to EC2. So that's pretty cool. And I think the other thing that we touched on there in the session was around VMware Cloud and AWS as well. We can't forget that. And I think with Outpost now being more prominent, and with the fact that that is now going to run VMware Cloud and AWS, our story around that becomes stronger. So we've got a really strong use case there. Personally, I'm seeing a lot of uptake from Veeam being used in VMware Cloud and AWS. So we touched on why we're best in terms of software defined, being able to automate and orchestrate the deployment. So some great sessions there. And David, who's going to talk a little bit later on in another video, we covered a bit of N2WS, the latest release from us as a joint offering. So some really cool stuff there.
Yeah, and I think that the education opportunity is huge, and as I understand it, the reInvent sessions will be available on replay.
Yeah.
And part of this you hit at VMworld as well.
Exactly.
The VMware Cloud on AWS bit. So the other thing I'll highlight is a little sneak peek to the next video coming up later today, is the N2WS Backup and Recovery 2.4. And there's new services added, but there's one thing that I actually got really excited about, and that was the cloning of VPC settings. And if you think about the configuration from a networking and security standpoint in the cloud, having that kind of protected is actually really important. And what's your perspective on that area of an AWS?
And actually, I didn't know about that until recently, so it's an amazing little feature that's snuck in. But I think if you talk about and look at the orchestration of that, so to get a VPC up, you've got to do a few things, right? It can take next a couple of seconds, but to get a more complex one up that more enterprises will use, you're going to have a lot of different settings, security groups, networks set up. So to have an ability to back that up and store that configuration, and then have the ability to recover it quickly, that just takes an orchestration piece to another level. So I think from my perspective is you don't need to go out and retool yourself on sort of the automation tools that are out there that can be complex. So the fact that we're making it easy and it just works, I think that's the key part of that.
Yeah, and the best part is that you can also export that VPC setting to a template.
Yeah.
So it's very portable. So we'll get more on that on the next video with David and Sebastian. But as a takeaway, you can find more at Veeam.com. And big thanks to Amazon, Veeam partner, and our other partners that are here. And we'll see you next year at a summit or a reInvent.
Definitely. See you guys.